the 2023 Integra. If you've been following along, you know no one likes this car. No one likes the way it looks.
All right.
Everyone is disappointed. But will it actually be as bad as everybody's making it out to be? My prediction, this car will be a car that everybody initially thinks is bad, and later down in the future they realize, wow, this car really was great after all. Today we'll be talking about that and many more things on this episode of Car Talk. Let's get into it. Before I go into exactly why I think this car actually will be great in the grand scheme of things, let's talk about everybody's disappointment with this car, with what it is. Let's dissect that first. The Integra. All Integras have been based off of the Civic platform. So you know what that means? All Integras are just Acura Civics. People seem to forget that though, I included. Whenever this car, when the reveal first happened, I'm like, what the heck is this? If you go on any of Acura's socials, just look in their comment section. Everybody's saying hashtag fix the Integra. This is literally just a Civic. I was one of those people. I wasn't commenting, but I was thinking that I'm like, come on man, give us something better than this. Until I saw the other colors. The prototype version compared to the actual models don't look that much different. But whenever you see these in other colors and then the interior too, it looks really good actually. But even then, after seeing the production model and Acura posting about it, people are still in the comments talking about fix the Integra. I'm like, what more could they do? The popular complaint for this vehicle is that this version does not have a coupe. But let me explain why that just does not make sense. So remember how I said that the Integras are always based off of the Civic platforms, correct? Now, with this generation of Civic, there is no coupe. So that would mean they would have to build a new chassis just for a coupe, which means that it wouldn't even be based off of the Civic platform. It would be on its own platform, which would mean more R&D money going to the Integra, which would raise the price. Now, the Integra was always supposed to be like the entry-level car into the Acura brand. So why would they do something that would increase the cost? You see how that doesn't make sense? Another complaint for this car is that the automatic version is a CVT instead of a DCT from like the ILX. Let me also explain why that makes zero sense. The L15 automatic version that's in the Civic Sport of the last generation and this generation has a CVT automatic transmission. Now, the only possible way for there to be a DCT from the ILX onto this is for them to R&D a whole new DCT specifically for the L15 engine, which would in turn increase the price. So that also just does not make sense. The car itself might not look like an Integra, but or have like the roots of an Integra, even though they claim it does. But at least they're trying to keep the price down, which is one common trait that the Integra had. It's like people are just trying to find reasons to get mad and start talking out their behind, just asking for stuff that doesn't make sense. But enough about the bad. Let's get to the good. Let's get to why I think this car will be great after all. So for starters, the base model and the top level trim as of right now both have the L15 engine from the Civic Si, which means that when the Type S comes, and yes, it is coming, when the Type S comes, it will likely have the Civic Type R engine. I'll give you a quick rundown of why that's so good. 2 liters, turbocharged, and the max possible horsepower is 300. If you want to dive deeper into the Civic Type R engine, click the link right here. Do I think this car will have 300 horsepower? No way, because then it will be competing with the Civic Type R. And that's not good, because then it will draw the Civic Type R market, and then it will draw the Integra market. It'll mesh it together, it'll mess up their sales. The Civic Si engine that's going to be in the base model makes 200 horsepower, so it has to be more than that. I think there's a good possibility that the Integra Type S will use the exact same engine that is in the 2-liter turbo Honda Accords. I'm betting on that because those two cars are kind of in different markets when it comes to like the type of car they are. One is a compact sports sedan, and then one is a sports sedan. Sporty sedan, I guess. It's not really a sports sedan. The 2-liter turbo in the Accord makes 252 horsepower. And for a Type S, I think that will do very good in terms of a jump in horsepower numbers. The base model TLX also uses a Civic Type R engine, and that makes 272 horsepower. But I don't think it'll make near that number, because then that kind of will be competing with the TLX base model. Think about it. You have a cheaper car, makes the same horsepower and weighs less. If somebody's looking to buy like a sporty car, they're gonna go with the Integra. It's gonna take sales away from the TLX. But just to prove my point in terms of horsepower jumps and gains, the TLX Type S makes 355, so that's an 80 horsepower increase, as opposed to the possible 50 horsepower increase for the Integra Type S. Another small thing people have been talking about for the Type S version of this car is if it'll have super handling all-wheel drive. That is possible, not saying it's a possibility, but it is possible because the TLX uses the 2-liter turbo and it also has super handling all-wheel drive. But do I think that's going to happen for the Integra? Probably not. That would make the car way heavier with that powertrain going into a smaller vehicle like that. It'll make it heavier, increase the price, and remember, that's not what they're trying to do with this car. And also, until they make the TLX Type S available in a manual, I just don't see them doing manual all-wheel drive. They just haven't done that in so long, since like the CR-V. Now, finally, I'll go over some concerns I have for this car. If you're a fan of the Civic Type R like me, you'll know that the engine note of that car is kind of bad. It's very vacuumy and it's really hard to make it sound good, even with a good exhaust. It just sounds meh. Hopefully they tune the engine well enough so it actually sounds good. I've seen it happen with the Accord 2-liter turbo. Those don't sound awful, not good. They don't sound awful with the exhaust. As far as my concerns go, that's really it for this car, but hopefully I think the car will perform well. I think sales-wise it'll be pretty slow, but really we'll just have to wait and see. To summarize everything I talked about today, Acura's taken this car in a direction pretty much unknown, but the way some folks are acting is downright ridiculous. I've literally seen some comments telling people to tell Acura to take the car back and restart the whole research and development process, as if they don't understand how much money and time that takes. If they did that for real, we probably wouldn't see another Integra for another 10 years. By that time, it would probably be like an EV only, considering the time that we'd be in. I think the styling of this car actually isn't that bad. Once they remove that decal and showed us different colors, especially with the interior combination, the manual transmission, that's going to be nice to see. I think before we make any serious complaints, we ought to wait for the Type S to come out, see what powertrain that has, how much power, all that, and then we can get to complaining if it's bad. I do think, although, that car will be good. My final prediction, this car will have the usual Honda treatment when it comes to used cars. Once they stop producing this car, people realize, wow, that was an amazing car. What were we thinking? And then the value is going to skyrocket. Look at every Honda car, NSX, Integra, RSX, even Civic SIs from 2000, early 2000s. Those cars are shooting up in value way more than it should be worth right now. Why does this happen? Because Honda gives us something bad, and then people realize just how good that car actually was. Basically what I'm saying is, we'll just have to play the waiting game before we make any heavy assumptions. Peace. Raindrop, drip, drop top, top smoking, no cooking, the hot bar. Fucking on your